All right, let's get this show on the road. Yeah, no intro today either, because I'm late as always. It starts to be, it's almost always on. I'm exaggerating. But yeah, let's get this show on the road. Give me a sec. We'll get started right away. Need to post everywhere and all that beautiful stuff, which normally I do while you guys wait during the intro. But yeah, a bit late. A bit late. Actually, before I get into it, let me make sure my sound is good. Because then in the middle, I'm going to figure out that it's not, and then it's going to suck. And so, yeah, let's, okay, it seems fine. Real quick, real quick reminder to those who don't remember or don't know. That's the Patreon. This is how you join it. Great community, great Discord, private Discord, no headaches, no harassments by any bots or all sorts of nonsense of that sort. Since today's a Friday, and I'm sure we're not gonna have too many people with us nowadays. Hey, Casey, today at this hour, so that's probably more for people who will watch this later. But since it's almost borderline tradition, if you will, or I just kind of feel obligated to some extent to do this, and I really want you guys to be up to speed to what's going on, so I'm gonna do this anyway, regardless. Hello, Bed Wars. Let's go. Let's kind of cover what happened today. Really, all in all, not too fascinating. I mean, kind of boring, really. We had the 6100 resistance. Well, we still have it, of course. So we've been testing this, I would argue, all along. We ended up slipping through, as you can see. We're being rejected downwards, and we'll see how the momentum is setting up for next week, since, well, this week is basically over with. And so that's going to allow us to predict a little bit into next week, right? That's the resistance line we were talking about, which evidently works. Right now we're starting to break into this newer channel, but that's the 1 minute. We know that is not um, something that might follow for a long time. So yeah, we just take it with a grain of salt. Hello, Leo. Hi, 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 hi. 4.5 people, no, 7. It's not about that. Again, as many as as many as will show up, it's all good. This is more for people than to be have it available to watch later, simply because I understand it is still a Friday evening. People are probably busy, so I don't expect them to show up for the live. So of course, watch it later at your own leisure and stuff. And yeah, let's go over the. I'm not sure how many tickers we're gonna be doing today, but at least let's cover the momentum, the price action we had. And like I said, all in all, it's kind of boring. We ended up just correcting right below. Kind of, we had this excessive movement towards the end of the session. We might as well call it a power hour. And so we ended up just spending the whole session today correcting all the way below that 6100 and just kind of below where exactly similarly to where we were testing right before we went into that weekend. So all in all, kind of nothing. We still have plenty of gaps to close right below our feet. In fact, pretty much, I think it's 5 in a row, right? 4 in a row, 4 in a row, 4 in a row, bringing us as low as 5,800. Just closing those gaps. Some of you know I actually argued that we're gonna go. What? Oh no! Hey, at least I noticed. At least I noticed the chat. Thank God I'm not looking at the chat sometimes. You see, you can tell I'm tired. You can really tell I'm tired. At least I didn't say much. I was kind of ranting about how we didn't do anything today. Yep, yep, yep. I noticed. Can see. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It took me a second. Yeah. Love you all. Alrighty. So thank you for letting me know, everyone. Leo, bad words. My apologies. Casey, please share your screen. Yep, yep, yep. All right. So I was just kind of ranting how we ended up getting locked right below that, right above that 6100. Had that power hour into the weekend, well, not into the weekend, into today's session, and so we had to deal with it. Now today we spent the whole session moving downwards, getting rejected by it, as you can see, getting locked right below. I'm gonna bring back the 1 minute chart So you can see how the momentum was structured. So it's really kind of a nothing thing. So since we have roughly about 20 minutes to go, I would argue that the best thing this can do is probably play along the current channel that it is within, 6,094 ish to 6,089, about a range of $6. Nothing all that special. It looks to be more positive at the moment, so probably the ceiling rather than the floor. But regardless of, probably that range, so nothing all that substantial. Guys, I didn't say anything special. You see, we didn't miss anything special. Right now, we're just kind of staying right below it. Almost, if you look at this objectively, we started moving along this channel, right? Had a bit of an excessive movement just because it happened right before the session closed. So it appeared to have this sort of more substantial effect than probably it would have if we had more of that session, that time. We landed on top of that median, and so we just dragged out the process, really. And now we're basically back to exactly where we were several days ago. So this is a nothing burger. I was saying we have 4 gaps right below our feet right here. We have one of them right here, one of them left over right here, one of them right here, and another one right there. You see, that's the ugly price. We ended up closing a couple of gaps, and we ended up generating a whole new bunch, a bunch of new ones. Those of you who've been with me for some time now or are part of the community understand, hello Johnny, understand that these will get closed, especially being so close to where we are right now, and more so seeing how momentum is structured right now already. Let's go to 5 minutes. 5 minutes is a little bit more indicative and more interesting for us because that actually somewhat slips into next week. We can see this is already rather bearish, and based upon sort of the channel that we just saw a second ago in the 1 minute, which you can see now is a bit smaller, right? That's exactly how it works. And it appears right now we're basically testing roughly what is median center of that channel. And it makes sense that we'll start, or rather continue, deteriorating and dropping lower to where this channel sort of bottoms right there on the 5 minutes, the channel we're currently in, the newer one. We can see we've established it a little while back, or started confirming that it's there and the market respects it. Given this downwards pressure, I think moving into the 25th, 24th, sorry, not because we are in 24th, we're moving 27th, moving into the 27th next week, we will far more likely to see this area getting retested, which is now, like we said, give or take 6,079 handle, call it 66,080. Okay, that will be probably close enough to the range where we're going to end up testing this, just to kind of remove some of the noise. So we're going to see what the hell that is that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the junction point between this support and this channel. Okay, that's kind of what we expect to see right there. Let's move to 30 minutes. 30 minutes. Just make sure actually it was 30 minutes. Yeah, roughly the same thing, but in 30 minutes we're already bearish, which you can see the price action actually showing off that that downwards pressure. We're already in oversold conditions, and so we ask ourselves, are we done with this, and are we about to start correcting? Well, that's a good question. First of all, we can identify that we are at the bottom of the short range channel. You can see usually that will be the more narrow channel, right? And if we're going to zoom out, we're going to realize that the wider 30-minute channel has been going on for some time, and I've been warning about this, and I've been saying that this is actually, if you watch previous lives, this is why we were expecting this, basically by seeing the price action going all the way from the bottom within the framework of this short-term channel to that ceiling, which we said, yeah, that will be still very excessive, very abnormal. I thought it might be a little bit slower going, and so kind of maybe gonna hit this junction, which we, by the way, might get stuck within the framework of. Basically, the market does tend to get locked in because of how strong the forces that are holding us right now. Basically, that's going to be the potentially that resistance, or that is the ceiling of the channel, right? The top of the channel, the resistance of the channel, if you will. And basically this support, this resistance rather, at this moment it was support, it was now resistance, now it's ceiling again, basically resistance. And so it's not going to be all that weird if the market will work its way in to retest it at least a couple more times before we're ready to continue. But let's confirm it. Let's see what we see on the momentum on larger time frames. That will be more indicative of what it is that we're about to see, right? Remember, on the 5 minutes, we said we probably might work our way a little bit more downwards, probably into the bottom of this channel. That does not contradict our ability to correct right back up into that channel that we see on the 30 minutes. Right, here it is. Don't forget, this is why sometimes some of these lines don't make sense as we switch between the time frames, but I leave them there on purpose so you can see where they end up being in the next time frame. So you can have a framework of where they sit in the bigger scheme of things, right? And you can see they don't move or anything of that sort. Let's hope now everything is fine and I'm not just going on and on and on and everything is just not working for some reason. We can see, I'm going to smash the Greg. Yes, baby, smash the Greg. Yeah. Is audio bad for you guys? Must be me. It must be you. I hope it's you, because otherwise that's a bummer. Let me just get rid of this thing, and let me check my audio real quick. Real quick right there. And audio should be fine. It should be fine. I'm not sure whether it is fine. I hope it is fine. It should be fine. Otherwise, you guys would have told me. I mean, maybe it's just my voice, Casey. You know, I'm just saying. So yeah, basically the idea here is that the price action can easily end up testing these levels. And exactly that wedge that we spoke about, we saw right there on 30 minutes, like we said, right? And only then end up correcting. Okay, that is what we may be about to see. Let's go to 45, like we said, and see what sort of momentum structure we have. Well, actually, this one just gone oversold, basically just became oversold, and so I would argue that it still has some time to spend in oversold conditions, given how we can see that this wave basically made its way to the bottom, and now right now we're just getting locked into oversold, and so I would argue that it's far more likely for it to at least proceed this way for a little bit, right? Even if just not for, you know, based upon this time frame, not the entire next session, but at least a decent portion of it, right? Taking us into oversold. We'll see how the market will react afterwards, but at least for a little bit. Now let's see 1 hour. Very same thing in oversold conditions. Did not yet converge, so we're not yet seeing relief on that, the downwards pressure that's just about to come in. We just started basically, which coincidentally matches very, very neatly with this price action, how we're potentially starting to reverse, but this is still very, very slow. And since it's only on the 1 hour, it's not too indicative that this trend will proceed. What we can say pretty certainly that we have this median too close for comfort, and so it's far more likely for the price action to end up testing it, like we said on the 5 minutes. We said downwards pressure, and so that downwards pressure might go all the way right here before it corrects right back into the top of that channel. You see, we're kind of slowly building up a process of how the price action might behave based upon the various time frames and what the momentum indicates. Now let's go. Did we check 1 hour? Have we checked 1 hour? We did. I said it's, yeah, right. Now, so 4 hours, basically what we realized that we just seen on a smaller time frames, and it actually makes a lot of sense when we work it into the framework of how long this time frame based upon relative to this time frame, right? It's that much more amplified, if you will. And so really what we're seeing on the 1 minute, if we're going to zoom in really close and just kind of figure this thing out, which is just getting started on a corrective movement, potentially below the 80, giving it, of course, acceleration into the downside. We can see already some of that acceleration, or rather slowdown, right? Rather slowdown, if anything. It's not yet acceleration, but more of a slowdown of the price action. Coincidentally, as we said on that resistance, right? We can see the price action was testing this channel as we made it through the wider channel, which we can see kind of matches with certain supports and resistances that we're going to be familiar with. And so we can see now we're deteriorating and no longer testing them. Now we're actually breaking inwards. The curve is flattening, right? Let me see. Maybe it's the position of the mic, Casey. Maybe it's my fault. And so, yeah, coincidentally, we're basically stuck in that cell right now that you can see. and we ended up testing the ceiling. And so the same way I would warn you for us to be moving to the upside when we hit this bottom, and potentially we said median or maybe even ceiling, which we ended up kind of doing. And from here on out, I'm going to warn you that once we're done with this process of retesting these levels, we're probably going to correct. How can we know? Here it is. It is the beginning of the movement downwards. This might proceed a long time. Don't forget, we'll accelerate to the downside as we make it through the 80 range. Of course, as we make it to 50, it might get retested. It's going to be very, very normal procedure, meaning probably, if anything, the median of the channel, or maybe this wedge into the downwards direction, right? Maybe more like this. Retest of a couple of times potentially, you know, or maybe 3, yeah, right. And actually then we're going to make it down to the bottom of this channel, making our way to the 20 and potentially even going into oversold, but that's too early to say. Let's see if this entire movement pans out as expected, right? So again, I'm not giving you a date or how long it will take. I'm not saying it will going to take the entire month. I'm just simply saying that give or take sort of the shape that the movement will take, and it might be far more narrower. I just drew it this way so you can see what it is that I'm trying to show, what kind of movement I'm expecting here. All right, that's kind of the gist of that, and we're just getting started. So that justifies that bearish momentum we saw on the smaller time frames. Let's see what we see on the daily. The daily, big surprise, big reveal. We are in overbought conditions, which is bullish in its nature. But I've been warning throughout the week and saying how very shortly we're probably going to see convergence of the forces. Right here, you can see the bearish momentum. The D basically takes dominance, which represents the loss of momentum, or you might as well equate it to bearish momentum, right? Or the beginning of such. And more so, we are coincidentally, of all places, are matching with that median here. You see there's a wider channel right there that we've been moving all along throughout, testing it back and forth, back and forth. You see bottom, top, again and again and again, median multiple times, bottom, top, median, all of that beautiful stuff. Here we, by the way, have the larger channel overlaid inside the smaller channel, which is very unfortunate, actually, because, well, on the daily it does indicate and give you a feeling of bullishness, but in reality it just gives you a wider range to move within the framework of. And so it doesn't really change the conditions. It just adds a couple of supports and resistances that you will end up testing. So it appears to be that we're moving basically within the framework of that median, or medians, whichever you want to treat it as. In a sense, we're becoming more bearish. We're finally going to see that curve downwards potentially. If it's going to be quick enough and strong enough, of course, it's going to break the 80, amplifying, giving it far more bearish momentum. And instead of continuing the trend upwards, we're far more likely to see the trend curving back up, right down, and going to test all the supports we've said that we're going to have along the way, potentially various, some of them psychological. Remember, we have the 6,000 right here. We have a whole bunch of levels that I don't have on the screen right now. I think they will be just in the way, but the grand scheme of things, it does show that it's far more likely, based upon the structure, if we'll proceed, we will make our way to that 5,700, which, for those of you who remember, we spoke about the red bubble, which I don't have on that particular chart, but roughly matches within the vicinity of this 5,700, right? Maybe even slightly higher, and it was a little bit back right there, because we expected this week to actually make our way into this red bubble that I had right there. And we didn't. We were very, very, very close, and then we corrected pretty much all the way up. Like all the way up, pretty much, just with the full irony of almost touch and go. We didn't really make it. I'm on purpose drawing this circle right below this low, because it, like I said, it didn't make it into that red bubble. It was very, very, very close again. And so we didn't really get to test what that is that I was saying that we're going to get to test. Still close, but no cigar. But still, I would argue that it kind of, I was more correct than I was wrong. We definitely had a correction and definitely moved very, very, very close to that edge. It just goes to show how sometimes the market kind of take it away from you, if you will, simply by identifying a movement that's about to happen anyways and initiating it too early. And so switching around or flipping over the market in terms of its momentum and never realizing that bottom. That is actually very normal behavior. And let's see what we see on the weekly. On the weekly, we are actually we spoke about this last week. And this week as well, we went into oversold conditions. Now we've corrected right up. It looks very bullish. Yes, I know. But still, you have to take it within the framework of anything that is below 50 is in actuality bearish. And as quickly as we do this relief rally and retest, we can go and switch over right here. We know these processes usually take a little bit longer, which most people don't realize that signifies a single wave, although this does not appear as such. But basically, I want to tell you that this process, even if we'll penetrate right back up, does not necessarily mean it's done and over with the bearish wave. In fact, I would argue, just getting started. The way we know we're just getting started, remember, this is the smaller time frame, and so anything and everything that we're about to see in the larger time frame, basically this works within the framework of that larger time frame. And here is the big shtick. The big shtick here is that we've ran the course of this thing, and it took us roughly about 3 years almost, and we are let me just clean this noise up a little bit right there. Actually, no, I'm probably gonna need that, but I'm gonna remove it for now. So the thing here is that we are right now, again, and I will mention it again and again and again, because those who haven't seen it or don't understand the importance of this is the very same resistance of the very same channel that broke us down around December 21, around November 21, right, around January 22. That was the beginning of the drop. Some would argue that was the conditions. I would argue the conditions started far earlier, and that was the outcome, a ripple effect, and more so the technicals played along this channel far before the events of 21, 22 happened, or 19 really, depending on what you classify it as. In fact, you realize when you look at it up close and personal, you realize some of these movements were all not all that excessive under the conditions. In fact, the corrective movement was very, very tame because it basically stayed within the framework of that upwards channel. So we went bearish temporarily inside of a bullish channel. Then we went far more bearish. Then we took our sweet time because that took basically forever. My expectation was that we're going to simply do it far faster, and so basically end up stopping and breaking down far earlier. And there are various strong supports and resistance levels. In fact, one of them is basically also diagonal crossing through, similarly to how we've seen channel sitting overlaying another channel, a very strong resistance. And so the expectation was for us to break at 5,400, but we ended up crossing through because I would argue that happened because of very, very bad policies by the government, by the US government, and the Fed cooperating with the insanity of that. But I've ranted about this far too much on the lives, and some of you heard about it. I talk about it in the community quite a bit. Feel free to join the Discord, and I'll explain in depth what exactly I mean and why we're expecting this to sort of play right into that correction. And so it's not that much of a surprise. It is a bit of a surprise to how long the process have taken. I would argue almost half a year longer than expected, pretty much at this stage. If going to be dragged out, it's going to be, even longer than that, basically, adding a couple of months, if so. Although I doubt that is the case, because if we're looking at momentum, as we said, the momentum is already starting to break, already bearish at face value, moving its way comfortably towards 80. If does break through 80, of course, as you can imagine, amplified. Since we're looking on the monthly chart, every single candlestick here represents a month. And so, as you can imagine, the amount of months it takes to make it all the way to the bottom, that 4,700, 4,800 handles I've been talking about in the previous videos, I've been mentioning in the community for quite a while. And I will tell you that most of you are probably going to say, well, it's not so bad, Greg. I mean, just DCA into it, this and that. I get it. But I'll tell you that the story here is a little bit more complicated, a little bit more painful. And if we're truly going to get that corrective movement I expect, as you can imagine, your yearly chart is not going to look as nice and charming as it is right now. In fact, it's going to overturn and look very, very painful, drag it lower, amplifying the effect, continuing the drop further on. And so there is a very high probability that this time around is not necessarily going to end up the same way this time did, right, at 22. So there's a very high probability actually this time around is going to be very different, and we might actually see the price action continuing into a whole different channel that you're not able to see on the screen right now. It's not there yet. I don't want to guess where it's located. I'm going to wait for the technical information to confirm. but I would argue that regardless of where the width of the sort of the bottom of that channel will be, the way I concluded based upon how the price action have been behaving for the past decade and then some, if you combine all the information analysis and all together, you come up with this very interesting level that I was warning during 21-22, how weird it is that we did not make it into that level. But then when I understood the bigger picture, in fact, I understood that this is basically reserved for the very next corrective wave. I did not expect it to be as deep as it's going to be, but like I said, that is the X marks the spot. That is, yeah, that's kind of what we're expecting. So, yeah, that's it. That is it, boys and girls. Right. I don't know if record time, but I would say pretty swiftly. All right. Leonard and Alexander, I see you guys were not here. I said I'm not going to do any tickers. I'm tremendously tired. I don't want to give you half-ass analysis. I am really tired. But I felt like obligated to show up and do this. You know what I'll give you? I'll give you a couple of other things. Those who remember, we said Palantir is going to do, if it can, roughly towards around the 80 range, which it did. Kind of got entangled with the levels that we've mentioned, slightly slid through, nothing all that special, but you can kind of see on the screen what our expectations are forward on. And so far, kind of played out exactly as expected to reach to the resistance to the top of that channel, penetrate through, retest some of these resistances that reside right above. You can see that purple line, which represents the 80. Then you have a Fib retracement level, which is 81.15. And so that kind of makes sense, giving us a lower high. Of course, we'll see how it's going to pan out, next week. If it's going to continue, then Greg was wrong. If we're going to start breaking inwards, then Greg is probably right, and we're probably still obeying the channel as expected. And just as I've deleted it a second ago, the expectation is potentially to do something akin to this. Of course, I maybe exaggerated with the angle. Does not mean that it's going to be straightforward, just, straight line down, right? Like this blue line. No. If anything, it's more like these black lines. It's going to be gradual movement to the downside, bringing us to the bottom of the channel. Again, does not have to happen right here. I'm just giving a give or take idea of how it's supposed to look like. Roughly ending up with a handle of 58, like I said in my video. That will be the moment where we conquer that movement from 70 to 60, and then from 60 more to overhandle to 50. Then, of course, we're going to correct right back up to retest some of these levels. You can see as marked on the screen right there, right back up at 66 ish area, 67. If anything, we have multiple levels there to be tested. I'm not going to be surprised if we're going to correct all the way to that 69.15, giving people a lot of confidence that everything's going to be just fine. Maybe testing that median. But if either scenario one, penetrating, continuing to move towards the top of the channel the same way we've done right now, and only then breaking down, or vice versa, starting to break here or here and then break. So one or the other is going to happen. And if it does prolong the upwards trend, of course, as you can imagine, the downwards trend is going to be a lot more painful and will truly result in a handle of an actual 50. Like actual 50, right? Because that resides at 50.27, which is a Fib retracement level, a very strong one. As you can imagine, if we're going to test 50.27, we will, of course, test 50, given how close they are. Okay? Somewhere. Oh, wow. Okay, cool. I like that. That's magical. Perfect. I will tell you, Alexander, though, plug went exactly as we wanted. Plug played out exactly as expected. Check this out. Remember, we jumped out. I mean, to each their own, although the members in my community kind of followed suit after myself and the other members that kind of were in the know. We got out literally cents, I think, the 340-ish, roughly around that area. And ended up correcting all the way to the bottom, regardless of oil actually doing quite well and going all the way to 80, just as, oh my god, that chart is probably going to make you guys nauseous. It's going to make you nauseous, right? But you can see that was kind of, I mean, if you can follow up on the lives from days before, we were saying it's going to retest 80, but then continue to break towards the bottom of the channel, only then pursuing an actual rally, right? So right now we're kind of stuck halfway, where we just kind of started, corrected, went back down. Now we're at the bottom, right? That was that 80. Now we're at the bottom, and now you can see all that expected movement right here in these black marker lines, staying within the framework of the channel, moving alongside the smaller channel, inside of the larger channel. So all kind of normal, right? And since, yeah, that is a movement we've expected, so none of the surprises, then correlated very neatly, started putting more pressure on plug and bringing it even down lower than the median was to roughly where it is, and where I'm not looking to pick up before I see roughly around 188. So sitting and waiting, that's kind of where we stand. We're still sitting and waiting for 188, which can also result with, since we have this downwards channel, it could result with some more unexpected pain than people realize. I would argue it's going to be short-lived, it's going to be temporary, and probably will, with the rally of oil and energy in general, will play out eventually. Remember, when we do, you know, you do you, right? Remember, this is not financial advice at the end of the day, but when I personally will be buying back into plug, I'll definitely will be telling that to my community first on the Discord. So yeah, join the Patreon so you can join the Discord and know all about what positions I take when I take them, ask me questions, you know, talk one-on-one. Well, not necessarily one-on-one, unless you're an academy student, which, by the way, brings me back to the one final spot may be taken. I'm not sure. It's kind of up in the air, so don't miss out. Definitely grab the last final spot in the one-on-one academy. Okay, please, I was just able to sign on. I understand, Leonard, but I'm really tired, and I really don't want to half-ass, you know, the analysis, because I'm really tired. I had a very long day, and I really just wanted to get on and do something, at least kind of catch up with you guys and make sure I'm covered the S&P and all that stuff. I promise to you, I promise, we're gonna do a hangout. Leonard, if you're in the community in the Discord, we're definitely gonna do a hangout Sunday, breaking down SoFi, and if we're going to have extra time, I might break whatever assets the boys and girls will ask for. We're going to do a deep dive on technical analysis. We're going to do it with patrons, and we're also then going to afterwards take off and do it only with the Academy members on a deeper level. So there will be a very long meeting. Not everyone has to attend, you know, both meetings. You can attend one. You can, you know, to each their own. I signed up for Patreon. I have to learn how to get on into Discord. Leonard, what are you doing? What are you waiting? Get on Discord. You're missing out. All the great stuff, all the best stuff is happening on Discord. Leonard, I will give you right now really quick. I'm gonna throw in the chat. I'm going to try and help out. I'm going to try and throw into the chat the link to the Discord. Yes, here it is. It's actually pretty simple, as you can imagine. It's exactly what you imagine it to be. Why is it now not working? Right? It's going to, oh yeah, here it is. It's exactly what you imagine it to be, right? So join in. Make sure you go through the FAQ channel where it has all the instructions of how you need to connect your account. It's actually pretty simple. Let me show you on screen right now really quick. You just simply, this is where I got the link for you. See the invite link. But again, all of this is wonderful private channels. So when you will join in, you'll see this beautiful channel. This beautiful channel. In the middle of it, you'll see this segment, especially for the Patreon members. You go to this link to go to. It basically takes you to patreon.com settings, apps, and Discord. So there's this one segment where you connect your apps. Also, don't forget the Discord is actually an application. You can see it's not my browser, it's an actual application. It functions very efficiently. I talk all about it right here. If you still don't have it, download it right here. Do not use it through your browser. You're simply going to be bottlenecking one with the other. So don't do that to yourself. I see there's a bunch of users right here that are stuck in limbo. Those people basically cannot see anything other than this one channel FAQ, and for some reason are not actually joining in properly. So boys and girls, those who are stuck in limbo, stop wasting your time in limbo. Join in. Use this link. You'll have simply one button to press there. It's super simple, and then the entire Discord will unlock, and come and hang out with us in the open forum where you can see Stonks and Leo hanging out right now. And this is where we hang out throughout the day. I jump over to the one-on-one when I have my own sessions with the one-on-one. Hi, Mamba. And yeah, definitely join the Discord. There's plenty of good stuff and plenty of new good stuff to be added over time, right? And yeah, that's it. That's it. Join us. Don't miss out. Those who are not yet members, real quick, I'm gonna put on the screen the link, the blink. It was this thing. Here, those who don't know, that's the link, that's the address. You use that. Definitely, unless you need one-on-one time with me analyzing your portfolio and stuff like that, go for the $17 tier. That will be 17 only if you tick that ticker on the top that gives you 15% discount. Unless you do that and you pay monthly, month by month, it's going to be $20. That is tremendously cheap for the value I give because I'm there pretty much every single day. Sometimes I try to do hangouts on the weekends. Not every weekend it works, not every weekend I can, but I definitely try and do my best and do the maximum amount of meetings. That's kind of the thing I do day to day. That's my, if you will, day job, right? Hang out with people and answering questions and telling them what I see, my meandering thoughts on the market, and basically discussing mainly technical analysis points of view. And on that note, boys and girls, I tremendously appreciate all of you for coming and joining for this live. And I'm horribly tired, and I'm so sorry for that. But I promise you, I'm going to try and make it up for you, boys and girls, throughout the weekend when we're going to have an in-depth analysis of SoFi. We're going to look at it, talk, discuss, answer questions. Make sure you realize that will not be on the YouTube. It will be done on the Discord. So for you to be able to participate and ask questions and all that stuff, you need to be on Discord. You need to be a Patreon member as a bare minimum or an Academy member. It doesn't matter. It's up to you. And definitely join us when we will announce that we're going to be doing it. We'll probably be doing it on Sunday evening Israeli time and afternoon EST. Okay, we're probably talking roughly about 3, maybe slightly earlier, so that kind of thing. And yeah, that's it, boys and girls. You also, thank you, boys and girls. You all have a wonderful weekend. Go rest, relax, eat your favorite food, hang out with your family, with your pets. Forget about the market a little bit. That's the beauty of being able to, disconnect and unwind, right? So next week we're going to be more efficient and not tired, not fed up with the market. So it's a good idea to go and rest sometimes. Well, we closed at 6100, so we've done nothing. We just killed an entire week on doing nothing. And this is, boys and girls, I say why going sideways suck. But yeah, sure, we kind of know. This is a hint for us. We're starting to see and smell the sea, if you will. And let's hope I'm not wrong, first of all. Let's hope my analysis is right. At the end of the day, this is not financial advice, and to each their own. But yeah, that's what we're seeing. Let's see how next week will pan out. All right, boys and girls, see you on the next one. See you over the weekend. Join the Discord, join the Patreon, and definitely, yeah, see you over the weekend. Bye-bye.